Exactly what are you looking for, Apollo?
This is what I'm looking for. The Italian Stallion.
Rocky Balboa? Never heard of him.
Look, it's the name, man. The Italian Stallion. The media will eat it up. Now, who discovered America? An Italian, right? What would be better than to get it on with one of his descendants?
He's a southpaw. I don't want you messing around with southpaws. Now, you do everything backwards.
Southpaw nothing. I'll drop him in 3. Apollo Creed meets the Italian Stallion. Sounds like a damn monster movie.
Boom. The main reason I even fell in love with boxing on another level and became the person that I am today, Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone, Apollo Creed, Carl Weathers, 2 of the greatest actors and greatest movie moguls for the sport of boxing in history. There will never be another. And we have to pay respects to Carl Weathers, aka Apollo Creed, as he's descended from Earth and transitioned into his next life form. So today we're going to pay respect, and I wanted to just do a special show to let you guys know one of the things that motivated me when I was a young kid, watching the Rocky movies, Rocky 1, Rocky 2, being so motivated, running up and down the street over on Lane Street, running up to the hood, shadow boxing, pretending to be Apollo Creed versus Rocky. Me and my buddies, when we used to run the streets as kids, these were the 2 guys that we would actually pretend to be. Rocky versus Apollo, like the moves. We used to do the lyrics that they spoke. We, ain't gonna be no rematch. And one of my closest young buddies, one of my prodigies, the same way I take you guys today up under my wing and I teach you boxing, I did the exact same thing back then. And one of the things that was so unique about the great Apollo Creed, and great he was at what he did, because he was, I need to do something real quick. I need to move my camera because I have to go over here on my Instagram. But Carl Weathers was a special, absolute beast inside of that ring. And he also, I still haven't seen an athlete in better shape still. Like, these guys today, they have all of these, special things to help them look a certain way. But this dude was like supernatural. And we used to pretend to be, Apollo Creed and Rocky. You know what? Instagram's going to have to wait. I ain't going to be able to do that one right now. But when this guy was coming up, I used to look at it physically and I was like, what is he taking? But when Apollo Creed and Rocky first came out, just the dynamics of some of the things that he would do, similar to, Muhammad Ali with the footwork, the power like George Foreman, and speed like Ali. It was just a total savage package. And like I said, you can look at Michael B. Jordan, who's playing him in current day with all of the supplementation and all of the new conditioning tactics and machines and all of the high-tech stuff. And he still don't have that body like Apollo Creed, that frame, just that man frame. Apollo's was a special individual. I said that then, I'm saying it now. I didn't realize 40 years later I'd be saying that he's still the most physically, endowed specimen that I'd seen on the big screen. And pretty much this dude was like natural, because there wasn't a lot of the stuff that they're using today to get to the places where they got to. But one of my buddies, one of my proteges, like I said, sorry, I forgot and jumped topics. And one of the proteges that I coached, like I coach you guys today, I was doing that when I was a kid, teaching them how to fight and doing things. And we would simulate the Rocky Balboa fights and look at Apollo Creed and Rocky, and I'd be pretending as Rocky and he'd be pretending as Apollo Creed, and we'd switch and go vice versa. But just how these guys inspired us as young men and inspired the sport of boxing and actually put boxing onto a map, because when Muhammad Ali was retired or retiring in like 1980, he fought Trevor Berbick and then, Larry Holmes and then Trevor Berbick. He tried to get one more shot at the title, and Trevor Berbick liked to, really punished him. And that's one of the reasons that Mike Tyson knocked Trevor Berbick out in the way that he did, because Ali told him to get him, and he did. But when you look at these guys, it was a special time. But Carl Weathers was his hand speed, his agility, his brashness, his ability to talk. He did that, and he wasn't even a real boxer. You know what I'm saying? So when they auditioned for the line, he pretended that he was an athlete coming up in the sport. And if I got that right, but he just knew he had more. And it didn't take long to convince him that, or the people, that he was special and he could actually get the job done. And he did. He sold that role. And actually, he ended up going longer than the Rocky series, which is, I consider Creed Rocky. But think about that. What other series or franchise in history does the number 2 actor series keep going? I don't know. Maybe you guys know. Let me know in the comment boxes. But I was sitting around and I just had to pay homage, because he's the reason. He's one of the things that fuel me and what I do in the sport of boxing today, and why I was motivated to take part for so long and just so committed. And that really did. That Rocky series, I'm sure encouraged a lot of you. And do me a favor and let me know exactly where it is you're checking in from today. And when did you first see Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Let me know exactly when you, or how did it inspire you, if any? Because a lot of you today, like my son right now, he's a big fan of the Creed series. He's watched it twice this week, and we hadn't even gotten wind that Apollo Creed had passed away. So that is just ironic how relevant the Creed franchise is. And we're talking back in 1975, 76, when Rocky first came out. It's 2024. And this movie franchise, even though the title has changed, same franchise, it's still going on, and it's still going strong, and it's inspiring the young kids today the exact same way. So we got to say special shout out to Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, who I live not far from, and Apollo Creed for delivering such a memorable role. And that role is memorable without a shadow of a doubt. One of the greatest performances in 1, 2, and 3, and then came back and did a little bit in 4, which he, fell to his demise to the Russian. But the difference in what those guys have done for the sport, there's not another sports movie that the actor playing the role inspired the sport for such a duration. We're talking 50 years in like another year or so. So 49 years that it's inspired a sport as serious as boxing and getting into the Hall of Fame. Sylvester Stallone did. And some people didn't feel like he belonged there with the real fighters. But Sylvester Stallone has been to the hospital for being in the boxing ring as much as any fighter. If anybody deserves to get in the Hall of Fame, it's both of those guys. Statues, both of those guys, because they impacted the U.S. economy, the sport. The reality is we got to really think about what people are saying when you say something of that nature. I don't know who your favorite actor is or who your favorite movie role is as an actor. Like when you think about Michael B. Jordan currently as Creed, I looked at that the other day with my son, and that was a tremendous job. And he and his co-actor, the co-star, was, their performance was great. And then inside of the ring, I teach people the 8 stages of boxing, and I break it down. And I did it the other day I did it in the group. So if you're not in the group, that's where it is. I did I did the first 4 on Instagram as well. And I wanted to do it for my subscribers that are on Instagram, not the followers, but the subscribers. I wanted to give you guys something really in depth that you could take away. And so I'm going to do that next week in our on a Zoom call with our guys in the who are members of the School of Boxing, the Top Trainer program. And I just want to say the reason why we're doing that is because if you understand the sport, then you understand how to operate within the sport, because there's no manual on what you're going to do or need to know. And so when I explain it and I break it down, it gives full clarity of what you need to understand before you're getting into that fire. Because in boxing, where people really crash and burn is not what they know, it's what they lose because of what they didn't know. So we don't want you to get in that grease fire and learn that way. So as I looked at Creed, the third one, and I looked at some of the things that they did, one of my buddies, Patrice Harris from Washington, D.C., has been in all 3. And I said it before, when you go and train and work with people from that area, you're not working with just some regular individuals. These kids are really trying to get out of there, and they can see a higher good, because that's where the White House is. There's so many different levels to the area in the DMV world. That's the most powerful. We have the most powerful military, and the Pentagon is where my aunt worked, and that is in DC, Washington, DC. So there's a opportunity for people who are in poverty to see what the other side live like, and the drive for them to get to that next level, that next echelon. It exists. And so when kids are fighting out of the hood, they're fighting because they can see it, they can smell it, they can taste it, because there are people that are at the top that look like them, that talk like them, that came from where they came from. So you put that together with a lot of individuals that were educated, and you're talking about that's where Sugar Ray Leonard came from. You know what I'm saying? The DMV. It's been a growing of a special fruit there. And when you see these individuals that come from there, you're looking at a different breed. That's why I think the game still don't understand how good Tank is, because they think he's just this guy with this power. But you got to do more. You got to have more than power when you come from the DMV. You got to have the whole package. The fact that he has power is just a bonus. But we pivot that to segue it back to the Apollo Creed, how that's transcended and leaked right into Creed with the Michael B. Jordan series. And Michael B. Jordan, and right now I'm just having a brain fart of his co-star. But the stages of boxing is what I was talking about. And the stages of boxing is this kid was showing certain levels of the techniques and the craft that he was using inside of that ring when he was fighting. And I'm not talking about Michael B. Jordan. I'm talking about his co-star. Just like Apollo Creed was the co-star, he just was more, he just permeated off the screen more than anybody. And when you look at that, the co-star of Rocky, I mean Creed, there are things that he was doing that are similar to things that we teach. And I was under the tutelage of one of these great minds, which is when J. Marie passed down the knowledge of her dad, Archie Moore, things that he taught, like the principles of the turtle shell, he created it. Do you understand? We talked for 2 or 3 hours every time for years. You understand what I know about these shell styles? I mean, you have no idea the knowledge that I had already endeavored upon or took part in, for lack of a better word, and then to get hours and hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of talking, recorded conversations about the mongoose, the old mongoose, not OLD, but OLE. Because if you ever understood what the sweet nature and the maniacal IQ of a mongoose is, then you understand why they call them the old mongoose, not the OLD. I stood corrected. And I only needed to be corrected one time. So I want you all to know it's not OLD, it's OLE. Those techniques that were shown and taught to me in that downline, yeah, nobody can beat. If you're under our tutelage, nobody can beat you skill for skill. You got to have some luck going on your way to do that. And I was very impressed by some of the things that they were showing and doing, some of the shell tactics. We teach a lot of the shell tactics, a lot within our systems, but we got 2 complete series of just the Philly shell. And there's so much that you learn in that system that we had to create 2 full series. So that's the franchise in itself. So we had 2 in that franchise, which are huge. And when you finish, you walk away with a true understanding that there's so much technique, so much skill and sets. And when I was watching Creed 3, I saw so many little things that a lot of people don't understand what it is. But being in this downline and in this thing for 4 decades and having some of the inside knowledge of some of the greatest fighters, not some, sorry, the greatest fighters, just so happen to be several of them. And, as I talk about greatness, there's something to be said about another fighter that I had the privilege to work with, who was also a former sparring partner of Mike Tyson, but he was more than that because he became a world champion, won the WBC, and by knocking out Lennox Lewis, and that's Oliver McCall, who fought for a stint of 34 years, started in like 85. You do that math. He started in 85 and finished fighting in 2019. I was in camps with Oliver in the early 2000s. I mean, this dude was still fighting. That's how much of an anomaly he was. People didn't understand, and I said it to them. This guy's bones were made of concrete. You never felt bones like that. And that's why when he knocked out Lennox Lewis, I truly understood why he was going out, and he went to sleep. That was the hardest Lennox Lewis ever went out. He's only been knocked out by one other guy, Hassam Rockman, which is another guy that I got to work with as well. So I've been fortunate to work with some of the greatest knockout artists in boxing history. But this guy, Oliver, was a different animal. and he showed us things about the peekaboo that expanded my understanding and wherewithal, and understand concepts on how to craft new wrinkles with it. That was what he showed me, and I realized that his IQ was on an entirely different level. With that being said, we pivot all the way back to Creed. I saw a lot of real stuff in there that those guys were giving this young man some serious tips from the real inside world of boxing. And just so happened, Terrence Crawford was in that movie as well. I'm sure he got a lot of wrinkles from Terrence Crawford, but you're dealing with those guys in the DMV. And when you're dealing over there, you're dealing with the best. All right. So, today, though, it's all about Apollo Creed and paying homage to one of the greatest athletes that's ever graced the face of this planet. And I just saw him in a commercial a week ago and said, that is the greatest athlete I have ever seen on the movie screen, as far as coming as a number 2, but becoming a number 1. That is powerful, man. His franchise is a number 1. So no matter what you are doing, your dreams can come true. And just because you might be currently right now number 2 doesn't mean you're just not a number 2 waiting to be a number 1. Because they always said this to me. In order to be a great leader, you got to learn how to be a great follower. He followed well and ended up permeating at the end. And he went out with a bang in his sleep peacefully. So special shout out to the Creed family, the Carl Weathers family, that is, and for Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, currently here in sweet South Florida. Special shouts, and we pay homage to you guys because you are why we do what we do, and motivate the guys today. And hopefully you guys take boxing serious enough to really look at it and understand the history of it, and not just simply come in and hoping and praying that you're just going to get a shot. If you do right by boxing, boxing will pay you, and it'll pay you well. Just can remember to follow the process. That's all I got. Coach Bradley, I'm signing out. Special shouts out to my brothers, all that are in the School of Boxing, the Top Trainer U program. Continue blessings to everyone and enjoy your weekend. Coach Bradley signing out. Respect to the Weathers family. Creed. Peace.